Kaylee's grandparents could seek immunity. At this hour, investigators and lawyers on all sides are building their cases around the belief that Caylee Anthony was murdered.
Tonight we have team coverage, including how the remains could lead to a case against George and Cindy Anthony. But we start with Channel 9's Kathy Belich and what could come from the clues found at the scene.
That's right. Well, some of the best investigators in the country are right down the street. They're sifting through the dirt by hand. They've already found dozens of bones and some other strong evidence that has actually led investigators back to the Anthony's home to search again. Now, if in fact they found duct tape, they'd be looking for fingerprints perhaps that would stick to the sticky side. I put some dirt on my fingers just to illustrate that. They'd also be looking for the edges that were torn to see if they matched up. Now, the black trash bag, even if it did not come from the Anthony's home, could still hold a lot of evidence.
Investigators will use lot number and other information to find out whether the black trash bag they found the child's remains in came from the Anthony's home. Either way, Channel 9's legal analyst Bill Schaefer says the bag could hold a lot more evidence than the remains. Even though it could have been rained on and underwater off and on over the last 6 months, it still could hold fingerprints outside and inside if the person who stuffed the child's body into the bag touched the inside as they worked. And the bag could also hold the DNA of the killer from sloughed off skin cells or even arm hairs that could have fallen out. Schaefer says investigators would also be looking for fibers from clothing or even from the Anthony's home in that bag. Clothes in the bag could also hold fingerprints and DNA from the killer. The body, which evidence shows could be Kaylee's, was wrapped in something before it was stuffed into the trash bag. Neck breaking was one of the searches found on Casey's computer. If the skull was separated from the spine, the medical examiner's office would be trying to find out whether it happened before or after death. Casey's parents, who are in seclusion, provided fingerprints over the weekend, as did Casey's brother Lee, to help investigators exclude them as having any connection to the black trash bag holding the remains, which were found right down the street from the Anthony home.
Now, we're told no weapon or confession note was found, but possibly more telling, WFTV legal analyst Bill Schaefer says that Casey did not have an anxiety attack or ask for sedatives during the Blanchard Park search. Neither did she do that even during the time that her daughter was missing, but she did that once she found out what investigators had found at the scene. Reporting live from Caylee Marie Anthony's neighborhood, Kathy Belich, Channel 9, Eyewitness News.
Today, the new lawyer for George and Cindy Anthony spoke to the public, and he said he didn't know about any plans to prosecute them on charges related to the case. But he did tell Channel 9's Mary Wynn that he's seeking immunity for the grandparents. She joins us now live outside the Anthony home. And Mary, why would he say that?
Well, attorney Brad Conway says he just wants to make sure his clients are protected. He wants to ensure that charges aren't filed down the road. George and Cindy Anthony were not ready to address the media, but issued a statement through their attorney, Brad Conway. The Anthonys don't plan on talking until the remains found near their home are identified. Conway says the family is realistic, but hopeful it's not Caylee.
The last 6 months have been the hardest 6 months of our lives, and we understand that the ongoing investigation and prosecution of our daughter Casey will consume our lives with conflict.
Once the medical examiner and the defense examine the remains will then be released to the Anthonys.
If it is Caylee Marie, they'll make the proper arrangements for her burial.
Eyewitness News first told you last week sources close to the investigation said they are possibly building a case against the Anthonys for obstruction of justice. Sources say if charges were pursued, it would be after the remains were identified, and it would come from the forensic evidence that was recently taken from the Anthony home.
They have cooperated as much as possible, and they've done nothing wrong.
Conway says he plans to meet with the lead prosecutor and detectives later this week to ask for full immunity for the Anthonys. When we asked the state attorney's office, a spokesperson replied, "We will not speculate. If the attorney officially decides to ask our office, we will address it then." Conway admits the Anthonys have made conflicting statements in the past. The sheriff's office plans to re-interview the Anthonys in the next week or two. Conway says when they are re-interviewed, they will not be making any conflicting statements. Reporting live in Orlando, Mary Wynn, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.